We are live, and today is Wellness Wednesdays, ladies. And we've got an amazing guest today, Debbie. How do I say your surname again, Debbie?
Beling.
Beling. Okay, so Debbie is going to introduce herself and let you know. But today we're talking about understanding pelvic health. So, Debbie, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Thanks for having me on your Wellness Wednesday today. I'm Debbie Beling. I'm owner and founder of Women's Transformation, creator of All About Menopause and the Menopause Project. And I'm also a holistic core restore coach, which means I specialise in pelvic health. And obviously my subject is menopause, so the two really go hand in hand for me. And today, Jackie's invited me to talk about pelvic health and menopause. So
brilliant. It's great to have you, Debbie. Great to have you. What's all that clicking on?
I don't know. Do I need to put headphones in?
No. Oh, it's gone now. Brilliant. Okay, so Debbie, tell us what we need to be doing about pelvic health at menopause. What things do we need to be starting to do?
Okay, well, just firstly, just a bit of information, a bit of background. 1 in 4 women globally have a pelvic health challenge of some description. And, you know, so it's really common, but just because it's common, it's not normal. Pregnancy, childbirth, menopause all increase the risks. And as does high impact activities, things like jumping and running, and other intra-abdominal pressures like coughing and sneezing, if there's a weakness, can also, you know, exacerbate symptoms. So as you know, as we approach menopause, estrogen levels start to decline, along with things like collagen, muscle mass and tension. And with those things, if we have a weakness in the pelvic floor, if we're not really kind of taking care of things, we can see weaknesses develop. And that can lead to things like incontinence or leaks and pelvic organ prolapse. So in addition to that, I want to just mention that also the bladder can be affected by estrogen decline, in that the lining can become thinner, it can become irritated, and we could be prone to infections, and also as you know about vaginal atrophy. Another thing, dryness in the vaginal area, which is a symptom experienced by many, that can be treated with topical estrogen creams to improve blood flow. But it's really important to incorporate pelvic floor work as well. Okay. I've got my toy here, if you don't mind.
I know you love your toy.
This is for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to call her Jane. So basically, this is our pelvis. This is what it looks like. I don't know. Can you see that properly?
Yeah.
That? So these bony parts that I'm holding are your hip bone that you can feel, you know, that bony bit in your hip that you can feel. So what we're talking about today is everything that falls within this space. So just a quick guidance for you. At the back, we've got the spine that leads down to the coccyx at the bottom. So if you take your hand, you can feel all the way down to the bony part and get right to the bottom. That's your coccyx there. And at the front, you've got the pubis, which is the bony parts here. And if I tip it up inside, you've got the spine here at the back, we've got the rectum, the uterus, and at the front, we've got the bladder. Underside, it's where it's all kind of happening, really. The red represents the pelvic floor muscles. They're 3 layers. They work collectively with the tendons and the other tissues to support, if you like, sort of act a bit like a bowl to support the organs in there. So their job is actually really quite, you know, important. They also are involved in opening and closing the urethra, which links to the bladder, the vagina. They are responsible, they get involved in sexual function, orgasm, and then at the back we've got the anus there too. So these muscles have a big job to do, and you know, I've got sort of really one question is, how often do we think about our pelvic floor, either when we're exercising or throughout the day? You know, I guess most people would be like, actually, I don't. We think about everything else, but this is, you know, right at the heart and center of our bodies, and we don't really know about it until something doesn't work properly anymore. Okay. But they don't work in isolation. So we've got abdominal muscles at the front, back muscles at the back, and the diaphragm at the top, and they all work together in sync via the breath. They're activated by the breath. So and that's really our starting point. So here's a little bit more information for you there about the pelvic floor.
Thank you, Debbie. So you've kind of told us about the role of the pelvic floor and showed us exactly where it is, and that not many people really, you know, think about it, you know, unless it becomes, you know, a problem.
Yeah.
So what are the main issues caused by a pelvic floor dysfunction?
Okay, so we've got incontinence, so any leaking, but that can also be urinary or fecal, and pelvic organ prolapse. So if I just sort of talk through those. Incontinence, urinary incontinence, we can have stress incontinence or urge incontinence. Now, stress is where we cannot control the stopping of wee. Urge incontinence is where we're constantly feeling the need to wee. And then you've obviously got fecal incontinence. But this is life-altering stuff. You know, it affects people on a daily basis. When you think about, you know, we should be emptying the bladder up to 5 to 7 times a day. The impact of having an incontinence issue is massive for someone, and especially at menopause. You know, about our stress response is different. Our anxiety levels are already like challenged. Adding something like this into the mix is just, you know, obviously going to be really a lot for someone. So just talking about fecal incontinence to start with, things that we can do to support that are, actually, we need to be looking at things like constipation, which actually impacts the pelvic floor. So if we're experiencing constipation, it can lead to things like straining and breath holding, which is where it can help. It can impact the pelvic organs and the pelvic floor. Contributors are things like lack of fiber, hydration and exercise, not moving enough, not drinking enough, and also pain medication. But as we're talking about menopause as well, progesterone slows transition, and that slow transit can also lead to excess estrogens in our system. Now, if that's not going through fast enough, we can reabsorb estrogens, and ultimately over time, you know, these things can lead to hormonal cancers, which is why constipation is one of the first things that we need to address and get on top of, really. With regard to urinary incontinence, the NHS have indicated that up to 3 to 6 million people have some degree of stress urinary incontinence, and it's highly prevalent in women attending gyms and exercise classes. So again, it comes back to, you know, pregnancy, childbirth, menopause. Those are all the things. But then also, if we're not managing our pelvic floor and working with it, you know, activities like running and jumping can also, you know, exacerbate. So yeah, those are the things that affect incontinence. Pelvic organ prolapse, there are 3 types. From the, you know, I'll go back to my model. The bladder, which can fall in, that's known as cystocele. We've got the uterus, which can also, you know, fall down, that's uterine prolapse. And then at the back, the rectum can, you know, get pushed in to the other organs, and that's the rest prolapse. Also, if you've had a hysterectomy, we've got the vaginal vault, so you're left with the vaginal vault, and that can also prolapse. You know, we're in that situation where there's weaknesses. There are different stages of prolapse, and certainly we can, as a holistic or restore coach, we can help people who have, you know, stage 1, stage 2 prolapse, but not anything beyond that. That requires clinical interventions.
Yeah.
So that's really sort of incontinence and prolapse.
So in terms of what you said, in terms of good bowel health, you said water, you said good nutrition, you said exercise. Is there anything else that we need to be doing to be able to prevent, like, incontinence, pelvic organ prolapse, or any fecal and urinary?
Yeah. So just with regard to bowel health, I mean, the guidelines indicate that we should be going no more than 3 times a day, no less than 3 times a week. So there's really wide parameter there. But the ideal is just to have a regular bowel movement within those parameters. Always go when you have the urge to, the bowel is not a storage unit like the bladder. So we don't want to be collecting anything in that space. That can, obviously impact the pelvic floor and, prolapse issues. So always go when you get the urge, and look at it. We want to check that, the bowel the stool can give us a lot of information about what's going on in our health. If there's things like blood in the stool, we need to go and get that checked out, straight away. So yeah, like you said, fill up with lots of fiber from plant foods. Also, there's, a bit of a mention for gut health in there. We can get up to 30 different varieties.
30, yes.
If we can do that, then that's
in a week.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, if we can do that, then that's even better. You're ticking another box. We're not going to go there today. But hydrate regularly and maintain good exercise. Walking is really good for getting the bowels moving. So if you're getting a little bit stuck, do all those things, and get yourself moving will help. And a bit so with regard to bladder health, again, we want to be going to the loo roughly every 3 to 4 hours a day. That's for 5 to 7 trips. Sleeping through the night is important. If we can do that without having to break for the loo, that would be fabulous. In menopause, we're constantly talking about disturbed sleep and having disruptions and what have you. But we can really address that and get through the night without having to get up, go to the loo. That's just one other thing we don't need to think about. Never go just in case. With a healthy bladder, healthy pelvic floor, we could stimulate an overactive bladder. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. We go when we need to. The bladder can hold up to like 500 milliliters of fluid, so there's space there. The length of the duration of how long we're going for counts at 8 Mississippi. Is a good tool. We want to get to 8 Mississippi, and what I mean by that is, like, on the loo, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. If you ever get to remembering that, if we can get to about 8, that's an ideal length. So you kind of know roughly whereabouts you need to be. Try not to hover. Well, no hovering. If you're hovering over the loo, you've got your glutes switched on and your pelvic floor is switched off, so it's actually confusing for the internal kind of workings of your brain. So get over whatever's going on, wipe the seat, get down, just relax the rest of the body so that you can do your thing, and make sure you're drinking enough throughout the day. Obviously for women, I think hydration is a thing, and especially if we've got incontinence issues, the tendency is to kind of not drink as much water, because that's going to obviously affect what's going on down there. So, but actually hydration is so important. Giving yourself another problem by not drinking enough. So it's really important to make sure you're drinking enough water, but try to avoid if you get disturbances at night, try to avoid drinking late. So ideally with your evening meal, don't go beyond sort of 8, 9, 10 o'clock really. And then your urine should be light clear color, straw color. If it's any darker, then that's clear indication of dehydration. So
great, brilliant. You've told us loads of stuff there. Definitely making sure you're keeping yourself hydrated, getting your 30 leafy plant based to get that fibre in, so that you're getting, you know, a really, really good bowel movement.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah. Thank you, Debbie. So tell us, what are the signs of prolapse? Because I'm sure our audience today don't really know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So you might get a feeling of heaviness or dragging in your pelvis area, you know, sort of down in this part, you know, going back to my model, down in this part, or a very low back pain. So low back pain is actually an interesting one, because people do think, oh, I've got low back pain, I've got back pain, but it's often linked to pelvic health issues or pelvic health considerations. So definitely, you know, kind of get that you know, checked out. You might have difficulty with sexual penetration, inability to wear tampons or problems wearing tampons. You might have painful sex, inability to empty the bowels completely, and then, you know, you might actually feel something there. But a really good, it's something that we should be doing anyway. I mean, we all know about breast health and checking breast tissue to make sure, you know, you've not got any lumps, or we don't visually see any changes. Exactly the same for down there. Get a mirror, have a look, know what you're looking at, and you know, you're the one that's going to not spot any changes. So, you know, that's really kind of like a crucial tip, really, just to regularly have a look and see what's going on down there, so that, yeah, you can spot changes as they happen, and you can do something about it.
Brilliant, great. So what are the next steps if someone has either got into incontinence or prolapse? What would their next steps be?
If you're worried about anything like that, I mean, you can find a holistic or a store coach. We do a pelvic health screening. We have a clinical team, including links to women's health physios around the country and, you know, even globally, and we can refer wherever necessary. And our programming incorporates, it's all about pelvic floor and core, with the daily functional movements. It's about preparing the body to kind of get back to the things that you love to do, the activity that you've been you've had to stop, so that you can start, you know, living a life again. So yeah, I mean, that first port of call, we can help direct you in the right place and give you guidance. And there are many of us all around the country, so not just me.
Brilliant. So in terms of someone coming to you, okay, you said that you do a pelvic health screening. What is the process? What happens? Because, you know, some people might be a little bit scared, you know, to talk about their pelvic health and come to you. So what's the process? What happens as part of that screening?
Okay, so we have a detailed screening form that we can send to you, that you can complete in, you know, privacy of your own home. We, you know, everything is confidential. Nothing gets shared anywhere. It literally will come back. It will come back to me, and two of our clinical team will look at it. If there are things that are, you know, needing, you know, more information, more intervention, and we will have a follow-up call on the back of that to talk through anything that comes up as part of that screening, so that we understand each other, and, you know, we're clear about what the next steps are for them. And it may be that they might need to be referred to a women's health physio, in which case we will give them guidance. We will you know, refer that person. We will talk to the women's health physio and let them know this person's coming. You know, it's all kept within our you know, our setup, if you like. And then on the back of that, the treatment or the course that is the next steps is decided, and that may require, again, intervention from the women's health physio, or they can come straight to us and get started with a program. And our Every Woman program is the foundation, is what everyone starts with, and it, you know, it gets amazing results in just 6 weeks. But, you know, they're that's really the process of getting started and moving forwards, getting out of that place that they're in.
Brilliant. Great, Debbie. It's been so informative. It's been great to have you on. So, have you got any freebies for my group here?
Well, we've just been talking about screening, and yeah, I'm happy to offer a pelvic health review for anyone who's interested. I will be able to provide that up until the 23rd of October. So if anyone is interested, then they can come to me to request that, and we can set that up. We'll set up a call in that instance, and go through everything.
Okay. Brilliant. So where can people find you, Debbie? Tell us your social media links, anything like that.
Okay, so
I mean, they are in the
they're somewhere, they're out there. I've seen
they're
them.
here.
Yeah, so my Instagram is @women's_transformation, and I can can DM me there. My Facebook is @Women's Transformation UK. I've also got a group which is all about menopause, but I can be emailed as well. So email is debbie@womenstransformation.co.uk. Yeah, so those are the ways.
Brilliant. Thank you, Debbie. It's great having you on because, when it comes to pelvic health, like you said, it's not something that we think of. We think of all other things, breast health, checking your breasts. You don't think about checking your pelvis, and actually understanding that your nutrition actually feeds into your pelvic health as well. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for coming on. And guys, that's the end. If you've got any questions for Debbie, she's in the group anyway, so she'll be able to come over and answer them. Make sure that you tag her message, and then that way she knows to answer you. Okay? So I will see you next week, Wednesday, as usual. And take care, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.